In this video, we'll take a look at the framing square, and there are a lot of details involved in what a framing square can do for you. So we'll look at one section of that. So this is a picture of a framing square, and it has two edges on it that are different widths. The wider width was referred to as the body, or sometimes the blade, and the narrower one will be the tongue. So the way they're laid out is the blade is generally 24 inches long and 2 inches wide. And the smaller arm, which is the tongue, is normally 16 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. So 16 here. And this one will be 24 this way. And it forms a right angle. So one of the skills that's very important in using a framing square is the ability to work with decimals and change them to fractions. And we've been doing a little bit of that already. So in this video and in the examples, we'll be doing some more of that. So here is a piece of the blade of a framing square, and these are some of the tables that are on most framing squares. So the tables are used for determining lengths of common, hip, and valley rafters, and some other quantities as well. So in this section, we're just going to focus our attention on common rafters, and that will be the top line along here. All right, so basically right in here, this line underneath all the way through this one. So take a look at the diagram below when I show it a little more. Under the 8-inch mark right here, the first row reads 14 and then a space 4-2. And what this means is that for a rise per 1 foot of run, so for an 8-inch rise per 1 foot of run, all right, so for an 8-inch rise per 1 foot of run, not run, the diagonal, or the common rafter, has a length of 14.42 inches. That's what that number is referring to. The length of the common rafter for an 8-inch rise over a 1 foot run. Okay, so just to explain what a common rafter looks like, here is a diagram showing a common rafter from there to there. So the hypotenuse that you've been talking about with the Pythagorean theorem. And the rise and the run are at right angles to each other. And as you can see here in this particular diagram, the run is half of the span. And so we calculate the rise in inches per 1 foot of run, or I put per foot per 1 foot, let's be more specific. If you have a longer length, then you just divide by that amount in feet and it will change it to per 1 foot. Okay, so for our example, 8 feet 8 inches rise per 13 feet of run. Changing that all to inches, 8 feet 8 inches is 104 inches per 13 feet of run. And so what we want to know is what's the rise in inches per 1 foot of run. So we divide by 13, and that tells us that there is an 8-inch rise per 1 foot of run. And so therefore, we would then use this area, the 8-inch rise per 1 foot, and find out that the length of the common rafter is 14.42 inches. So using the common rafter table, we find that the length of the common rafter is 14.42 inches, but that is for 1 foot of run. We had 13 feet of run. So what we must do is multiply that amount by 13, since the run is 13 feet, not 1 foot. So the 14.42 gets converted into, remember, this is per 1 foot. We multiply by 13 feet, and we have a common rafter length of 187.46 inches. Let's see if we can convert this to the nearest 16th of an inch. We want to put it into feet and inches and even partial inches in 16ths of an inch. To change your inches into feet, you divide the number of inches by 12 to change it into feet. And that tells us that 187.46 inches is 15.6216 feet. Or from that, we take that the full number of feet in there is 15, not 16. We're somewhere in between 15 and 16. So far our answer for the feet part is 15 feet. The 0.6216 represents the number of inches. So if we take our 0.6216 feet and multiply by 12, we will get it into inches, which is 7.46 inches. We take the 7, the whole number, that is the whole number of inches, 7 inches. And now the 0.46 is a partial inch. Okay, this is a partial inch. Well, we want to know, is it 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, and so on. So if we take the partial as a decimal and multiply it by 16, that tells us that it is 7.36 sixteenths. And we have to think about this now. We're not going any closer than a 16th. So is this closer to 7/16 or 8/16? And 7.36 is closer to 7. So this will be 7 7/16 inches. So notice what I did here, just to recap. To change the inches into feet, we divide by 12. To change, and this is now going back, to change the partial feet back to inches, we multiply by 12. Now it's in inches again. We take the whole number of inches, and that was our full inches. And then we multiply the partial inches by the denominator of the fraction of an inch that you want. So if I was doing eighths, I would multiply by 8. I'm asked for 16th, so we multiply by 16. If we want it in 30 seconds, we would multiply by 32. And so this tells us that 7.36 over 16 is the partial fraction, a partial inch. And this is closer to 7 than 8. So we choose 7/16 as our answer. All right, so now you're going to try one for yourself. Find the length of a common rafter with a run of 9 feet and a rise of 7 feet 6 inches. Pause the video and give it a try. So you want to find the rise, let me make a space there, the rise in inches per foot of run. So a couple of things have to be done here. The rise I have in feet and inches, so I need that in just inches. And then I will need to know, that's over 9 feet, so we'll have to divide by 9 to find out what it is over 1 foot. So 7 feet 6 inches is equal to 7 times 12, which is 84, Add the 6 and we get 90 inches is equivalent to my 7 feet 6 inches. And that is over 9 feet, right? 90-inch rise per 9 foot of run. And so that turns out to be a 10-inch rise over 1 foot of run. And we need it per 1 foot so that we can go and use the table on the framing square. We take a look at 10 and find out that for that value, the length of the rafter is 15.62, all right? So for 1 foot of run, the rafter length is 15.62 inches. We were asked to find the length of the common rafter for a run of 9 feet. So I must multiply that value by 9. So 15.62 inches times 9 is, good old calculator, 15.62 times 9 is 140.58. That's in inches. All right, that is the length of the common rafter in inches. Shall we take this down to feet and inches and even a partial inch? Let's do 16ths again. Okay, so put it to the nearest 16th of an inch. 140 inches. Oh, well, if we divide it by 12, we'll get it into feet, right? So 140.58 inches divided by 12 is 11.715 feet. I like to keep track of what I'm answering over here because we want feet, right? So it's 11 feet. And then we'll have our inches after. So now it's the 0.75 feet that I want to put back to inches. And that means we have to multiply by 12. So 0.715 feet times 12 is 8.58. Okay, makes sense that we're back to that same decimal value. 8.58 inches. Well, so that means it's 8 inches and 58 1/100ths of an inch, right? So we want to take our 8 inches, it'll be 8 inches, and then we have this partial 0.58. We were going to do it to 16ths, so 0.58 times 16 will tell us which 16th it is closest to. And it comes out as 9.28. So 9.28. So here was our 11 feet, 8 inches, and 9.28 sixteenths of an inch. And that is closest to 9/16 rather than 10. So it is 8 and 9/16 inches. Remember, the difference here is we could take it into eighths or 30 seconds or quarters, and you would just change what you multiply by to put it to that particular denominator. Let's have a look at another one. Find the length of the common rafter with a run of 8 feet and a rise of 9 inches per foot of run. So we're already told the 9 inches per foot of run. The run is 8 feet though, okay? So if we already know the 9 inches per foot of run, so we can get the length of the common rafter is, let's go to the framing square. It was 9 inches. So we're looking here. 15 inches is 15 inches per foot of run. Okay, 15 inches per foot of run, we have a run of 8 feet. So 15 inches times 8 is 120 inches is the length of the rafter. We want this in feet and inches. Well, over here, since I want to go first to feet, so I will have to divide by 12. And actually, this little table I have here tells me that 10 feet is 120 inches, right? So, but anyway, let's just follow the same pattern we've been doing. Inches divided by 12 equals 10 feet. And actually, it's completely even. We don't even need to go further. So that one, we got a little bit of a break on. 10 feet even. So 10 feet is the length of the common rafter that has an 8-foot run for a rise of 9 inches per foot of run. Notice this is different. Last time I didn't tell you the per foot of run. We had to calculate the per foot of run up here. All right, one more for you to try. Pause the video and give this one a try. We are finding the length of the common rafter for a run of 5 feet and a rise of 6 inches per foot of run. Oh, okay. 6 inches per foot of run. The rafter then is how long per foot of run? We go back to the framing square diagram. We're looking at 6 inches rise per foot of run, so 13.42 right there. And I just covered it, so let me just go below there. 13.42. All right, so the rafter is 13.42 inches per foot of run. We have a 5-foot run, so 13.42 inches times 5 is equal to 67.1 inches. That's the length of the common rafter in inches, but we need to change this to feet and inches. So 67.1 inches divided by 12 is 5.5916 repeated. Okay. All right, over here, keeping track of our answer, 5 feet. Okay. Let's now take the decimal part. So we've used up that 5 feet. We need to convert, and sorry, that was in feet. We need to convert 0.5916 feet into inches, okay? 0.5916 repeated times 12. Now, if you did this on the calculator along with me, you notice that you had 0.5916666666, and it would go 6 forever. Eventually, the calculator rounds it and puts a 7 on there. So what I would do, at least go to these 4 decimal places. But if you want to just leave that on the calculator, we could just subtract 5 from it and we'll just have the decimal value, 0.59166666. Okay, now I want to multiply that by 12. And I get 7.1. And if you want to go straight from that, knowing that 60 inches up here would have been your 5 feet, leaving 7.1, that's another way to go. So 7.1 inches. That means our 7 inches And we have a partial inch here, okay? This is a partial inch. We were going to take it to the nearest eighth of an inch. So let's multiply 0.1 times 8. And it is 0.8. Remember, that represents 0.88, which is the usually you have to have an integer up here. So that's approximately 1/8, and that'd be the closest. It's closer to 1/8 than not an eighth, because if it was 0, it would be below the 0.5. All right, so 1/8 inches. All right, so there is some more practice for you in the textbook, and I suggest you do it. When else would you use a framing square? So here's an example of how a framing square could be used on a board to create a stair stringer. We have the tread and the riser. And so to get even treads and risers all the way up, a framing square can be used. Mark off the length of each and get a nice right triangle in there that becomes cut out. You can use a framing square to square up a board beside another one before securing them together. So great way to make sure you're holding it square. The homework suggestions, we're just working on the common rafter portion of the framing square. I didn't get into the pitch part for this section. So just numbers 1 to 5. Now, since only the odd numbers in the back of the book, you will see the full solutions of 1 to 5 posted below. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.